Hello dear students, I hope that you are all doing well. So today we're going to see a new lesson which is about describing an ICT process. This lesson is designed for L2 computer sciences students at the University of South Dakhla. The objective of this lesson, it will help you to describe basic information communication technology processes using clear, concise language. As usual, we start with an authentic text given a description. Okay, so describing ICT processes clearly is essential as it allows others to follow and replicate steps effectively. A typical ICT process might involve tasks like software installation, data backup, or network setup. For instance, when installing software, the process may start with downloading the installation file. Then the user must double-click the file to begin the installation. Next, the user follows the on-screen prompt to complete the installation. Each step in the process is crucial to ensuring that the software is installed correctly. In the case of data backup, the process might involve selecting the files to backup, choosing a backup location, and then initiating the backup process. For network setup, the process may begin with connecting the router, configuring settings, and testing the network connection to ensure everything is functioning properly. Clear descriptions of these processes help ensure that they are carried out efficiently and correctly. So here we can see the description of the main or the common ICT processes. Let's move to the theory. What is an ICT process? An information communication technology process is a series of actions performed in a specific order to accomplish a task related to technology. For example, installing a software, backing up data, configuring a network, or setting up a new computer. Here let's see a description. To install an application, a user must first download the installation file, then run the setup program, follow the on-screen instructions, and finally restart the computer if required. So now let's see together how can we use descriptions of processes. There are key rules for describing an ICT process. The first rule is to use sequential markers to indicate order. Of course, when giving instruction about how to do a process or to complete a process, we have to give the order of actions. A well-written process should use clear transition words to guide the reader through the steps. What are these transition words? Here we have some examples. For example, first, then, next, after that, and finally. We can use first, second, third, and finally. First introduces the first step. For example, first connect the device to a power source. Then indicate the next step in the sequence. For example, then install the required drivers. Next introduces the other step. Next, restart the computer to apply changes. We have as well after that, which introduces a step following a completed action. For example, after that, configure the network settings. And finally, it indicates the last step in the process. For example, finally verify that the connection is stable. In order to begin the installation of the software, the user has to proceed by downloading the required file. We feel that the language in this sentence is redundant, so you can just directly first download the installation file using an imperative tense. Second, you have to avoid unnecessary information. For example, rather than saying the user may want to check if the internet connection is working before proceeding with the software installation, as faulty connection can cause problem, just directly use an imperative tense and say check the internet connection before installing the software. And last, you have to use precise technical terms, which is very important to use the appropriate word instead of saying set everything up. What are everything? So here you have to specify and say configure the network setting. And this is just an example. The third key rule of describing an ICT process, here you have to use the correct verb form. That is to say, either you use it in imperative or passive voice. Let's see together. When do we have to use imperative and when do we have to use the passive voice? First, for imperative voice, here we have to give orders or direct instructions. It is used for guides, manuals, and step-by-step instructions. For example, click next to proceed, or restart the computer if prompted. And the passive voice is used for formal documentations or reports. It is used when focusing on the process rather than the person performing the action. So here we are performing on the process description and the complete actions rather than the person who is going to do the process or to do the actions to complete the process. For examples, the software is installed by running the setup file. Data is backed up to secure server. Okay. Here I have or I try to provide the common ICT processes and how to describe them. You can read them carefully later. I have provided a description of a software installation process, a network setup process, and a data backup process. Don't forget, read them carefully and try to get inspired in order to produce yours, okay? Here there are two examples of two different processes. Let's see the first process, which is resetting a password. Try to identify how are the verbs or the tenses used and what are the sequential markers in this text, okay? To reset a password, first go to the login page and click Forgot Password. Then enter your registered email and check your inbox for the reset link. Next, follow the link and create a new password. Finally, log with the new credentials to verify the change. For the second process, which is printing a document, let's see together, try as well to identify the verb form and the sequential markers, or which are also called as transition words. Why do we call them transition words? Because they make a transition from an action to another, or they relate ideas from an idea to another. So to print a document, first open the file you want to print, then click on the print option in the menu. Next, choose the printer and set preferences such as page size and number of copies. Finally, click print to start the printing process. So, to summarize, an ICT processes involve a sequence of actions performed to complete a task. What do we mean by sequence? That is to say, actions which come in an order or in a sequence related to each other. They have to come on a specific order. That's why we say a sequence, okay? 2. Process descriptions should be clear, concise, and logical. That is to say, we have to be clear, using only the necessary information, and logical. That is to say, we need to give the appropriate and right order using the appropriate verb form. Okay? Using sequential markers is essential to guide the reader, and using imperative or passive voice depending on the context. Okay, follow structured approach to ensure accuracy in describing processes. So by mastering the skill of describing ICT processes, students can effectively communicate technical instructions in manuals, troubleshooting guides, or professional reports. That was all concerning the lesson. for better understanding, you have to complete these activities. In the first activity, try to order the steps, arrange them in the correct order in order to describe the process of installing software. Activity 2, write a description. Describe the process of setting up a new network in 4 steps. Here you have to produce your own description of setting up a network, okay? In the third activity, you have to fill in the blank, okay? And in the fourth last activity, there are 4 sentences or 4 descriptions. You have to say either they are true or false. If you have any questions or you face any ambiguities, you can post them as a comment. I will answer all of you, or you can email me. Okay?
All for
Thank you for
today.
your
See you
attention. The next lesson.